I do remember the first day that you get to the mission president actually gives you, it's sort of like a pamphlet of the church history in Las Vegas. And in it, they give you some information about how the church was established in Las Vegas. And you kind of find out that it was actually a Mormon settlement, kind of like Salt Lake, way back in the 1850s. And then I think there was like a mining conflict that came up, and so some church members left, but some church members stayed. And the church members, that were still left, they continued to grow the church pretty well, actually, until about the 1940s, 1950s was when all of the casinos started coming in and all the tourism. And that's kind of how the Sin City thing came up. But you still have a lot of those church members retained. And that's why there's a temple in Las Vegas. So there's one temple. So there's two missions in Las Vegas. There's the Las Vegas West, and then just the Nevada-Las Vegas mission. That's the one that I was in. And when I was there, it was pretty much just the West mission was the west half of Nevada, and then the Nevada-Las Vegas mission was the right side of Nevada for the most part. Once I left in June 2012 was when they added the Reno mission. So the Reno mission is kind of like the top half of Nevada, and then that cuts the Las Vegas missions down by quite a lot. And I remember my mission actually lost two zones. One went to the Reno mission, and then one went to the West mission. So now, for the most part, missionaries that get called to Las Vegas are generally staying in Las Vegas. I think the way that the Las Vegas mission is set up now, there are like 9 or 10 zones inside Las Vegas, and then there's one zone outside. And that one zone is the Kingman zone. And so there's Bullhead City, there's Kingman, there's Needles, there's Lake Havasu, and there's Blythe. And so those are the general cities that you could go to out of Valley. This zone isn't in the mission anymore, but there was a Mesquite Zone in the Las Vegas mission. I think it's part of the West mission now. But the Mesquite Zone had, they have like this little farm town called Bunkerville. And it's really funny how, once you drive up to Bunkerville, there's this post that says established in like 1888 or something like that. But there's this family, and it was established by, I think, John Levitt. That was like he was like the settler of Bunkerville. And John Levitt was a polygamist at the time. This was, back when polygamy was still legal and in cooperation with the church. And John Levitt had 7 wives. And when you go to Bunkerville now, there's a ton of Levitts. And so, yeah, you see the war directory, and there's a whole page of just Levitts. And so it was just really funny how the early church history still has an effect on the mission. So you have cars honking at you just to kind of wave and say hi, and that happened usually multiple times a day. If you were riding a bike, it's really easy to spot missionaries. And if you're a church member, usually people kind of honk and say hi. Or I remember one time there was actually a police officer. This happened like twice, I think, 2 or 3 times, where there was a police officer that was Mormon, and we were, just biking on the side of the road, and this police car passes us, and he's kind of singing Called to Serve as he passes us, and so it was just kind of funny seeing that happen. With Las Vegas, you're going to have a lot of members, especially like the English wards. I only served a couple transfers in English wards, but usually they were really willing to help you out with lessons. As far as like Spanish people go, a lot of times I think they worked during the day, or sometimes they had like the mom and dad both kind of helping out at home, so sometimes they weren't able to come to as many lessons with us, but usually when they came to lessons, it was better because they were able to relate to the investigators a little bit more. So It's kind of funny how the city is structured. So of course there's the Strip, but it's not as big as people think it is. It's only, it's essentially just one street, and it doesn't even span, the whole city. It only spans maybe like 10 or 15 blocks. But generally, as you get closer to the Strip, you'll see more of a black population and more of a Spanish population. And also you'll start to see more like ghetto apartments, ghetto homes. And then it's also kind of interesting how the further away you get from the Strip, you'll start to see kind of nicer neighborhoods, more white people. And then where the temple is laid, it's laid at the foot of the mountain, like all the way to the east. And it's kind of funny because the farther away you get from the Strip, the quieter it gets. And then the temple is like all the way over here at the end, and it's super, super quiet, like up near the temple. And it's also interesting that it's like a high elevation to get there as well. So the temple is kind of like high up near the foot of the mountain. And it's kind of like symbolic of how, like climbing a mountain or, overcoming our trials, how it kind of gets like more spiritual, more peaceful, like the higher you get. And so I think that's really interesting.